I'm just checking if I'm audible and visible.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. So just a few points of housekeeping before I begin my speech. The first is no preferred pronouns. The second is I'll take POIs in the chat box. Again, chat box please. I'll do my best to take one from closing. I want to hear from them and for good diagonal engagements. Yeah, at any point I chop out or it gets weird, just let me know. The internet at uni is kind of messed up all the time. Starting my speech in a few seconds, let me get my paper in time. Starting my speech in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, in our world, even if they're a more dominant force, we're still going to have the existence of other institutions. Corporations and their C-suite or board will still continue to exist. Governments and their regulations will still continue to exist. This debate is just a matter about talking about why a world wherein they're more dominant, and by there I'm talking about the workers' cooperatives, it would be better for the economy. And the simple reason why we think that's true is that you need to take care of the lifeblood of your organization, who are the very people who are contributing to your bottom line and the very people whose sweat, blood, and tears pave the way for your goods and services to exist. Without them, you would not have any business. Before I move on to my extension, a few extraneous rebuttals against Leader of the Opposition. Firstly, LO talked about how, in cooperatives, there's no C-suite, there's no directors, there's no board. We can assume that he meant there's some degree of disorganization. But we tell you that workers' cooperatives can still have an internal kind of structure and even a leader to some extent who they vote into power, as opposed to in status quo wherein the board or C-suite are chosen or elected by the owners of a corporation. That is to say that a large multinational corporation like Procter & Gamble, Unilever, or Nestle are likely to have expats or foreigners as people part of the C-suite or the board of directors and not people from that particular locale. So that in and of itself proves that to an extent you get a degree of representation from the domestic market, people from that particular country. Second response is that these board and C-suite, they can say no and veto to you all the time. You ask for a raise, they can say no. You want to be relocated to another market because you think your country sucks and you want to work somewhere else, they can deny that. But the point in which you can rally together under the banner of an organized structure of a cooperative allows you access to bargaining power, because now you're no longer just representing one person, you're representing a group. And the bargaining power actually comes from the fact that you can all threaten to resign, for instance, or you can all threaten to harm the reputation of the corporation in a positive way if these people are toxic, they're bad leaders, they're treating you fairly, they're violating the law, etc. Now, what is this cooperative for? Because we don't think that we got any nuance to that coming from the previous speaker. It's in the info slide, guys. Money that the cooperative earns through members who pay on a periodic basis, sometimes an annual basis, when they pay a portion of their salary to go to the cooperative, that can be used for cool things, such as ensuring that the money goes to the longevity of the cooperative, but secondly, more importantly, particular needs and interests that they want. And this is a response to the POI of the previous speaker in terms of if they're in a particular industry and they want more rest days or they want more budget towards insurance because they work in mining and it's a bit dangerous, they can lobby for those particular things. Why is the counterfactual harmful? The counterfactual is harmful because corporations have a primary obligation to their shareholders, ladies and gentlemen. If they're a publicly listed company, then it's for the people who bought their shares. And these people are particularly concerned with profit, with sales, with the bottom line. They look at all these employees as merely an expense, ladies and gentlemen, and we think that when push comes to shove and the business is having a hard time, they're likely to cost cut. How? By laying off employees, by not giving them the bonuses they deserve, by ultimately not giving them enough snacks in the pantry. All sorts of things which ultimately screw over the very people who are trying to work hard for your particular corporation. They get the short end of the stick majority of the time. Now, what is my extension, right? My extension, and other rebuttal will be integrated, is talking to you about how workers' cooperatives, when they're the dominant force, send a message that your society cares about its workers, and that's good for the reputation of number one, the cooperative, therefore ensuring its longevity. Number two, it's good for the business or industry that they're representing or taking a part of. And third, and most importantly, it's more effective for the economy of that particular country, therefore making it better for everyone in general. You have sort of this trickle-down effect. Why? This is parallel to things like ESG, or corporate social responsibility, that a lot of international investors look at in terms of determining, is this Southeast Asian or African country something investable? Is this something sustainable in the long run? The point in which they see that in this world, or this narrative that majority of these things are being dominated by the cooperative, that's good media, that's good press, that creates a good reputation that this society and these people care about their workers. It's something sexy to look at on paper, and ultimately on a practical level, gives them more access to networks and connection from other countries or other industries. What's an example of this? In the Philippines, for instance, where you have a corporation called NutriAsia that provides different fast-moving consumer goods to different people, they got a lot of crap for treating their workers unfairly and providing bad goods and services to people. They got canceled. And on an international level, we also see Chevron and ExxonMobil, companies of which actually also got flack because they weren't treating their workers properly. The point in which you have a dominance and rise of these particular workers' cooperatives shows you what your priorities are, and everything's not just about the money. And that's the trade-off we're willing to take from opening government. You might have less goods and services, you might have less distribution, you might have less of a bottom line, but ultimately, people are happier, people are more fulfilled. And that's something you get from my partner, where he told you about, ironically, if you put the people first, they then take care of themselves, they're less likely to resign, they're less likely to say bad things about the company, they're less likely to quit, and ultimately, they become more productive assets within the corporation, therefore making it better for the industry and also for the economy, contributing to things like GDP, etc. You have a trickle-down effect of things like foreign direct investments, joint ventures, and public-private partnerships, and ultimately, more access to capital. What we told you from opening government was a direct response to LO, and we think that ultimately, it's better off when they're the dominant force, because at least now, you're able to listen to the people who are unsung, and people who know what they want and are self-directed. And for all these reasons, we're very proud to push this debate for side affirmative.